What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Real Review. I'm your host, Warbucks, and today we're going to talk about 2025 Superman, written and directed by James Gunn. So, quick, first, we're going to get into the history. You know what I'm saying? For me, Superman goes back as far as I can remember growing up. The Superman animated series was really one of I think that was like my first introduction to Superman growing up. And then later on, I kind of got into the Christopher Reeves um, iteration of Superman, which, is a classic Superman look and everything. It was pretty cool. But Superman goes back even further than that, to the black and white days with, him getting in the telephone booth, a guy in a regular work clothes, outfit, glasses, hat, getting into the telephone booth and coming out as Superman, can leap tall buildings in a single bound, you know what I'm saying? And, Superman is probably one of the most famous superheroes in the world, you know what I'm saying? And he's pretty super powerful, like super OD powerful. Just, you know what I'm saying? Shoots laser beams out his eyes and can fly. Oh,
I noticed this time you're saying a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? You know
what?
what I'm saying? You keep saying
Oh,
it.
okay, okay,
Just I noticed a whole lot.
okay,
I know it's gonna come back. So
okay,
I'd rather just
okay. All right,
yeah,
all right, all right. So start over.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay. All right, appreciate that. All right. What's up, everybody? It's your boy. Oh, okay.
Take a lap if you need to, bro. You good? We here.
All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Real Review. I'm your host, Warbucks, and today we're going to talk about the 2025 Superman, written and directed by James Gunn. Superman goes back pretty far back to the old black and white days, like back in the 50s or 60s, in the comic book days, where, I remember him wearing, I remember seeing images of him wearing the glasses and the typical work suit, and him getting in the telephone booth and coming out as Superman. And Superman is probably one of the most famous, if not the most famous superhero in the world. You know what I'm saying? Spider-Man might be probably a more popular one, but if we talking the most famous, it's definitely got to be Superman. Flies, shoots laser beams out his eyes, super powerful, uh, really hard to defeat. You know what I'm saying? He's practically indestructible, outside of kryptonite, you know what I'm saying? And magic, and there's very few ways to kill him, and he's super, super powerful, super, super strong, super, super fast. My first introduction to Superman was the Superman animated series from the '90s when I was a kid, growing up. I loved Superman. I loved superhero stuff, just period, growing up as a kid. And that was really my first introduction to him. I think I remember being a huge fan of the Batman animated series, and I remember a huge crossover episode where Batman and Superman fought. And for me, that was just the biggest thing at that time. I remember being a kid and just thinking that was the most epic thing ever. And so, but you know, and then as time progressed, my uncle, my dad's, they introduced me to the live action Superman movie, the Christopher Reeve Superman with glasses. And I thought that was just really, really dope. I thought that was really, really cool. It's a classic. I really enjoyed the first. Well, I'm not gonna say the first, but my first introduction to Christopher Reeve Superman, and his classic suit. I just thought that was really, really cool. That old school live action version of Superman. And then as time progressed, times change and things progress. We got a Brandon Ross Superman that was kind of mid-ish, you know what I'm saying? And I don't think it was received well by the fans. So they end up ending that one. And then we got a Zack Snyder verse where we got Man of Steel. Now, me personally, I thought Man of Steel was a great movie. I thought at that time it was like the best Superman movie I'd ever seen. Great action. It was different, a different iteration of Superman I'd never seen before. It was dark. And I think that it was powerful. I think I thought that it challenged the way we saw Superman. But then the world that was created around him, they just kind of messed it up. You know what I'm saying? And in that, they had to end that whole world, and then we kind of drop into the movie we came here to talk about today. And so, in James Gunn's Superman, which is starring David Corenswet, the first scene you see is kind of glaring off into the snow, and then you kind of get these words to kind of give you just a brief little background. And I believe it starts off with, I think, 3 decades or 3 centuries ago, then 3 decades, and then 3 years and 3 days, just giving you a little background and understanding of what's going on, breaking down the fact that there's a group of people in a country, and another country is trying to kind of oppress these people and fight these people, and a war is basically gonna break out. And Superman comes in to try to stop this war and stop people from getting hurt by going in and he does stop the war. He does stop everything from happening. He stops these people with evil intentions to oppress these people. And then I believe the very last thing it says is, 3 hours ago, it goes from 3 days ago to 3 hours ago, Superman loses his first fight. And then, you pan off into the snow and you kind of see Superman laying in the snow with blood on his mouth. And, my first thoughts when I first see this scene is how amazing this scene looks, how amazing his colors look on the background of this white snow. And I mean, it just visually, this Superman looks really, really amazing off top. Also, he's wearing trunks, which I believe Henry Cavill's, they took the trunks away. I believe Brandon Roth might have still wore the trunks. And of course, Christopher Reeves wore the trunks. But, and I believe it was David Corenswet that helped convince James Gunn to bring back those trunks. This Superman, David Corenswet, kind of has the classic Superman look. That old school Superman look. He has the curl, the hair, and, he's got the trunks and the bright blue colors, and he looks really, really young. So it just kind of feels like they're trying to give us that classic feel, or that classic Superman feel, taking it back to just the old school Superman feeling. And I feel like Zack Snyder's Superman at the time was needed, but now maybe we need this classic Superman now. Maybe this is just the time for this. And so, shout out to James Gunn, who is now taking over the DC universe, the live action universe, and this is the first movie. So there's a lot riding on this being successful and this being done right, because this is the first movie of a new DCU. The last one didn't work out with Zack Snyder, so this is big. And so, but starting off, it looks good. You know what I'm saying? You got this nice white snow, and you got Superman laying there in the snow, and he has blood on his mouth. As the narration said, he just lost his first fight. And so he's laying in the snow, and then you just see him, he's breathing very heavily. And then he just blows out this loud whistle, and I can't whistle, so don't expect me to do that on here, but he blows out this loud whistle, and immediately we see this dog. We see kind of like smoke moving fast, and then we see this dog run to Superman's aid, and we get Superman, we get a dog, which we've never gotten in any other Superman movie. So finally, we're getting something new, and his name is Krypto. Now, there are old comic book texts of Krypto in the comic book. He definitely goes back to the comic book days. James Gunn did a good job doing his due diligence, doing his research, and keeping a lot of this stuff kind of comic book accurate, but putting his own spin on it. But giving us Krypto the dog was, that was a very dope left field thing to do, giving us something different, something new. And so the dog shows up, and the first thing he does, he starts pouncing on Superman and hitting him. And Superman is he's already beat up, and the dog is beat up. And my first thought of Krypto is he seems unhinged. He seems kind of wild, kind of a crazy dog to show up. And the first thing he does is he starts hitting Superman, and Superman's clearly hurt. And this dog is clearly can fly, he can run fast, and he's pouncing on Superman, and he's hurting Superman. So that shows you how powerful and how strong Superman's dog is. It takes him a minute, but Superman finally he holds up his cape and tells him to take him home. And so Krypto drags Superman through the snow. He's dragging Superman, a dog, man. That's how powerful this freaking dog is. So he's dragging Superman through the snow, and he drags him up to this ice, and these crystals shoot out of the ground. They just come out of the ground, and we know this is Superman's home. I'm trying to think of the name of it. I think it's something like the Fortress. But anyway, so they get to his home. The ice crystals come out of the ice. They come out of the ice. The doors open up, and he drags them in there. These robots come out of nowhere. I've never seen these robots before. Well, no, not these. They've had different iterations of people, or most of the time when I've seen Superman, it's always been like some type of AI, like some type of digital representation of something at his fortress. But this particular time, there's robots, and these robots also were in the comic book as well. You know what I'm saying? So James Gunn is giving us just something new, something different, something creative, something we've never seen before. Immediately with Krypto and with these robots, which I think is cool. And so the robots show up, they lift him up, and they carry him over. And one of the robots, as they carry him over, says, "Hey, cue his text. He loves it. He loves to hear. He loves to hear the last known text that he has from his parents." And they pull up like a visual monitor of his parents up on the screen, and they're talking in their language, but I believe the robots are like translating it to English. And, as Superman is listening to it, it's giving him comfort and peace. They hold him up on this table, and they're holding him up. And then they have this little projector comes down, and it like channels the power. It channels the sun into him. Now, if you know Superman, he gets his powers from the sun. And so this little projector that focuses the sunlight on them, it's basically, just fixing Superman and getting him back right. And as he's hitting him, he's you hear him scream out loud from the pain. You know what I'm saying? I believe, I think he had like, broken ribs or whatever. And it's just like fixing, popping everything back in place. He gets back up and he starts walking back. And a robot says, "You're at 85%. This thing that you fought beat you at 100%. And so he goes, I gotta go save the people. And so, this just goes to show you the type of Superman we're dealing with. He was beaten at 100%, but he's willing to go back and fight and risk his life. He's not even at a full 100%. He's going back to risk his life to save these people that are being oppressed by these other people. Of course, I know that because I've seen the movie. And honestly, that whole background thing where where these people are being oppressed, I kind of believe that James Gunn was taking that from some current things that are going on. In current history, he took some inspiration from some things that we're currently seeing in today's climate, and he put it in the film. And I think that's what great writers, great storytellers do. They take pieces of their real life. By the way, Krypto the dog is also taken from James Gunn. I believe that's James Gunn's dog that they actually use, and they put CGI to create Krypto, and he is, basically James Gunn's dog. And if you know James Gunn's history, he is quite known to incorporate all the people that he loves, that he cares about. He has his family members, brothers play certain roles. I believe his wife plays a role on Peacemaker. He incorporates all the people around him that he loves in his films in some way, shape, or form. And also, he also has some past ties kind of to Superman. I believe his family, I think he has brothers that did a old Superman movie where they have a text where Superman was a villain, and they did a whole movie on it. And that movie was directed, and I think he might have produced on that movie. I'm not sure, but I know that he had all the Gunn family were all kind of, I saw them in the credits of that Superman movie. But anyway, so Superman is ready to get back out there and get straight to it and fight this I believe at the time they had a name for him as something of Barabia or whatever, of the people that were trying to oppress, try to take over these other people. And so when he gets back out there, before he gets back out there, they show Lex and his people are in LexCorp. They're in a completely different place. They're back in Metropolis, and LexCorp is in there. He's got all these people on these different laptops. He's got his bimbo, ditzy, dumb girlfriend in there as well. She's taking selfies of herself outside the building. and Superman comes back in for the fight, to fight this mysterious person in this robot looking suit, this big suit. And part of the intro to this lets you know that Superman's not the only superpowered being in this world. I think he was the first one to show up there, but others have showed up as well, to Earth. And so when he gets back in, he's fighting this guy, and this guy is whooping Superman's ass. I mean, man, Superman is getting beat up bad. And Lex Luthor is the one controlling this thing, this robot, and directing him. Let me not say robot, but whatever this thing is in this suit that's supposed to be, on the side of the people that are trying to oppress and take over these other people. And so, but it's a suit and he looks like a robot. But anyway, so Lex is over here like basically directing this whole way of fighting. And he's like A3 and B12 and C9, basically like Battleship, you know what I'm saying? Like a video game, like he's just kind of controlling it. And so the people who are listening to him and pressing the buttons to move this thing that is fighting Superman, they're having their own little brief conversations where one of them goes, dang, it's like he knows every move of Superman before he does it. And he goes, yeah, he does. He studied him for years. And so that's how Lex Luthor is able to beat the best out of Superman like this. Also, I was wondering what type of powerful being could Superman be fighting that could be beating Superman, because Superman is super strong. It's not many things that could really beat him. You know what I'm saying? Especially just a straight up one-on-one fight. You know what I'm saying? You're not using kryptonite. You're not using magic or anything like that. And so I believe that somewhere there's a nano chick, that a Spanish chick, she runs off into the ice a little bit after Superman has left. And as she's coming in, she sees his home of crystals kind of dropping back down into the ice. And she's going over to it, and she's talking in her intercom to Lex Luthor, and Lex Luthor is telling her, you know what I'm saying, let's get back. And then he goes, I can dig into the ice. And then he goes, your pride is not gonna win for us today. He tells her, that's enough, come on back to the thing. So, now we got this chick in this suit, you know what I'm saying? We don't know anything about her yet, but she's present. Superman is now in the middle of this fight that he's losing, and he's beating the mess out of Superman, knocking him all the way around. He knocks him down into the ground, and he falls into the ground. As he falls into the ground, one of the people who are there come up to Superman's aid and helps him up out of the ground. And Superman tells him to get out of here before you get hurt. And he said, you saved us many times, allow us to save you. And so it just goes to show you how Superman has a group of people that care about him. He has a group of followers, people that love him and that are standing by him, and even willing to risk their lives by helping him get out the ground. And Lex looks down and sees him. They get this guy's information right then in that moment, because he has high-tech technology that can kind of like, just pull up anybody's information. So he pulls up his name, and then Lex says, that's it, we're gonna wrap this up. And so when he says that, the robot kind of flies up, and he goes through this portal, and he walks over to this portal, and he takes off this suit, and now he's kind of in this like ninja looking outfit, but you still can't quite see what's underneath this outfit that he wears. And when he walks through in this little ninja outfit, when he pulls out this ninja outfit, he's talking to Lex Luthor. Well, he's not talking to Lex Luthor, but he's with Lex Luthor. He doesn't really talk. And so Lex now goes and talks to the Secretary of Defense and pretty much the whole defense team of people. And at this table, we get a glimpse of a character from a show that James Gunn created called Creature Commandos. That's kind of similar to Suicide Squad, but it's a great show. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out on HBO Max. It's an animated show, but it's for adults. Great show, greatly written. You know, the movie is heavily driven by music. I mean, the show is heavily driven by music. Great show. But the main character in that show is part of this defense team. And so in there, Lex is making his case to try to get the government to back him in creating back him in his defense team in taking down Superman. But the Secretary of Defense isn't quite convinced because Superman has a lot of positivity on his side. He has a lot of support. He kind of sees what Lex is saying because, you know, you got this super overpowered being alien that's kind of unstoppable. He also brings up the only way he knows to stop him, they don't have any access to kryptonite. There's no kryptonite left on Earth as far as they know. But Lex says that he has a way around getting this kryptonite on Earth. And so, but, you know, just based on the conversations that I had, Lex cannot completely convince these people to jump on his side. And so I believe the very next scene we see, we now see Clark Kent. Now, Superman is a different type of character than a lot of the most popular superheroes that we know. Most of these superheroes, a lot of times, started as regular human beings and became superpowered over time. People like Spider-Man was bit by a radioactive spider, or Batman was just, born into wealth and to use this money to create all the things they created. But Superman, on the other hand, was born an alien. He was born a superpower being, and he's pretending to be Clark Kent. You know what I'm saying? It's a very big difference between him and a lot of other superheroes, at least the most famous ones we know. He's an alien because he comes from a different planet, a different world. But, his parents gave him the text, and the text basically just says to protect the people, look out for the people of Earth. And as you know, the text is kind of cut off because it has traveled to Earth as a baby. The text kind of got a little bit distorted. And so he can only hear the first part of the text, can't hear the rest of it. And so here we get to see David Corenswet as Clark Kent. And we don't really get any other viewing of him as Clark Kent. This is our only iteration of him as Clark Kent. To be honest, it wasn't really much of a difference between him as Clark Kent and Superman to me as far as his acting goes. I mean, he was trying not to knock into anybody. He was being very careful. And I mean, but for the most part, he kind of was the same, if you ask me. You know what I'm saying? And maybe over time he gets a little bit better at playing him, pretending to be him. You know what I'm saying? Maybe this is just his best bet of trying to pretend to be somebody early on. And so anyway, we see him walking through to go into the Daily Planet. He's going in. He's kind of trying not to knock into everybody in the crowd, and then he goes into the building. In there, when he walks in, he's being greeted by some guy who is just kind of being annoying and talking to him. And it's kind of little comical moments of him walking in. He calls his parents, and his parents are from Kansas. They have a very strong country accent. They're both, bigger people. And so, but anyway, they have very strong country accents. And you know what I thought when I first saw them was, wow, James Gunn gave us like a very more realistic looking parents from the country. A lot of times the parents that we've seen are always these really, really good looking, good shape actors, well-known actors that usually play his parents. But this time he gave us some overweight country folks that look like genuine country folks. And so James Gunn, he did a good job with this movie. He really, really did, bringing back this classic Superman and giving us this more realistic looking parents, giving us Krypto and the robots. I just thought it was really, really cool. I thought he did a good job so far with everything I was seeing. So he goes into the Daily Planet. He talks to his parents briefly. They miss him. They want to see him. And then, he keeps going, and he we finally get to see Lois. You know what I'm saying? We know him as Superman's love interest, and we get to see Jimmy Olsen. And this Jimmy Olsen is chilling. He's looking down at his phone. He looks up at two girls are reacting to him like he's so hot. And it's just like, this is a different Jimmy Olsen that we've ever seen. Normally he's pretty nerdy, but this Jimmy Olsen is a ladies' man. The ladies love him. And, and that will come into play later on. His ladies' man whole thing. And so Clark goes in, he sits down, and I believe his parents congratulated him on being front page of the Daily Planet. And so Clark is pretty cocky about that, which is not typically how Clark Kent usually is. He's usually kind of geeky, but in this scene he doesn't really come off all that geeky. He's just kind of like, he's a little cocky, a little arrogant about his success. But he's got this front cover. They're looking up at the news. All the news is talking about the Superman and how he came in and stopped this whole war. And Lois says, it's kind of crazy how you're the only one that gets to keep interviewing Superman. And Superman, Clark Kent kind of shakes it off and goes, it's not kind of crazy. It's just great journalism. You know what I'm saying? He's just real cocky, just so not like the Clark Kent I know. You know what I'm saying? But hey, James Gunn is trying to give us a different characters, a different twist on our characters that we know. Clark Kent being a little cocky, you know what I'm saying? And so instead of being super nerdy and humble, I guess. And so anyway, so I believe the very next scene cuts to Lex going into the ice, showing up in his, showing up through a portal, I'm not sure, the ship. He drops down into the ice right where, right where the home was. The Spanish girl is with him, and I believe the little ninja guy's name is Ultraman. And the guy in the suit that looks kind of like a ninja, his name is Ultraman, and she goes, "Is right there." And so, she asks, "How are we gonna get in here without Superman being here?" And, he says, "Don't worry about that." I forgot what he said, but he said some little quick, smart remark. And then as they walk up, the fortress just comes quick out of the ice. And in my head, I'm just like, what in the world? How the heck did Lex figure out a way to get inside the fortress? Dang, is it called the Fortress of Solitude? I can't exactly remember the name of Superman's lair, but anyway, so this crystal comes out of the snow. They walk in, and as soon as they come in, the robot says, "Hey, I'm sorry, you can't be here. This is a restricted area." And then immediately, this Ultraman and this girl, she has like these nano type razor arms comes out, and she's tearing through robots, ripping them apart. Ultraman's beating these robots. And, they beat up all the robots, tear them all up. In this scene, Lex is just walking through looking cool, looking like like a straight badass, basically. He's walking through comfortably while robots are around him being ripped apart and destroyed. They're running at him, but the Ultraman and the girl are getting to him right before they get to Lex. Real cool action scenes that we get to see here that look really, really dope. And so then Lex goes through, and he's like, "This is what we came for." It is basically the last known text we know of his parents to Superman. But right as this moment happens, I believe the dog attacks the nano chick and scraps her face. And so she hits the dog with the nanotech. And I'm a dog lover. So when the dog is hit, yes, it bothers me. It does. And so I'm like, oh, hell nah, we're going to have to get her. But anyway, so she hits the dog with some nanotech. And then Lex has her set up her whole thing where she's like using her nanotech to hack into the text to get the rest of the video of the parents' tech. And I believe that, the girl says, what's to stop, Lex from showing back up? I mean, Superman from showing back up. And then he says, don't worry about it. He's going to send a distraction out there for him. And he has these two big guys come out in these van, and they bring out this case, this metal case in it, and they open it up, and there's like a small monster in it that hops out. And he says, dang, well, this is a small distraction. He says, don't worry, he'll grow. And so I believe that Clark Kent goes in to see, Clark Kent is already in his apartment, and I believe that Lois comes in and walks in, and she sees him in there cooking, and she's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm cooking your favorite breakfast. You know what I'm saying? Breakfast for dinner. And he goes, she goes, I don't like breakfast for dinner. Like, I love breakfast for breakfast. You love breakfast for dinner. And so he laughs, and they kiss, have a nice little, clearly they're dating, and clearly she knows he's Superman because now his glasses are off. Which, by the way, it's important to note that this always bothered me that Superman and Clark Kent, people couldn't tell the difference between the two, but Superman's glasses, and this is in the comic book, and I didn't always know this. I learned this, I think I learned this recently, but his glasses have some type of specific hypno powers that when people see him, they can't, when they look at him, they can't tell that he's Superman. They think he's a completely different person. And so that's why when you take the glasses off, on and off and on, you can still, it's me whether I have my glasses on or off. But with Superman, with his glasses on, you can't tell that he's Superman. He looks, I guess he just convinces people that he's somebody else. And so anyway, Superman, we can call him Superman because he's in Superman mode at this point. His glasses are off, and he's very comfortable with Lois. She knows who he is. I believe they've only been dating for 3 months. And so I thought it was kind of fast to be letting her know that he's already Superman. Like, it just goes to show you Superman's kind of way too trusting, way too fast, because he already reveals his identity to this woman. She don't even really know him that well. He don't know her that well. They've only been dating for 3 months. I mean, man. So he's very trusting. So anyway, they kiss, they talk briefly, and he goes, it's kind of funny, the whole thing yesterday with you and Jimmy, and you were talking about, or earlier today, you were talking about how I keep having all the front covers. She goes, it wasn't an act. She was like, people are gonna figure it out if you keep, you know what I'm saying? You're making it just too obvious. And so, and so he goes, well, all right, I'll let somebody else interview me. You interview me. And she goes, really? You'll let me interview you? And then he goes, yeah. He's like, how about now? And so then when he says that, he goes, he kind of reacts like he's a little caught off guard. And maybe he said he would let her interview, but he really didn't mean it. Now he kind of has to. And so he goes, sure, right now. So she breaks out her little recorder, presses her button, and, starts up the interview. And in the interview, she starts asking him questions about, just about his decisions to just go in and attack these people that have bad intentions for interrogating them. And, there are moments where he doesn't really actually understand how this whole interviewing journalism goes when you're doing a newspaper, because he's saying stuff that is off the record, but not saying it's off the record. And, she's stopping the tape, and, he's asking her all these questions, and they kind of get into this, he kind of starts off kind of sarcastic and joking, but he kind of gets very emotional and angry with her at a certain point in the interview, because she's asking him real questions and challenging him as a investigator journalist, which is her job. I mean, all real journalists, they challenge their people. And then he says something like, I'm giving you the longest, he's like, way longer interview than I ever gave myself. And then she goes, really, you time your interviews with yourself? And so they have a real strong argument and back and forth. And, he gets angry. And then, and so, she kind of, she goes, well, let's change the subject. As though she switched to talking about the support system he has online, and then also the the people who don't like him, and he tries to say, you know, he doesn't really pay attention to that. Superman doesn't have time for that. But then the more he says it, he kind of starts going from he doesn't to, you know, a little bit here and there. He kind of changes his tune a little bit. And then, you know, she brings up hashtag super shit, and he loses it. He gets pissed off. Lois, you know, I hate that. And so, you know, she knows that he looks into this stuff and it bothers him. I think she says people have seen him looking at it and reacting to it. So she knows. And so he gets angry, and she goes, well, you know, she's like, I knew this wasn't going to work. She was like, you know, and then he goes, what do you mean by that? And then he goes, you know, like I told you, I'm not really good with relationships. And so he kind of gets up his stuff and he walks out of the apartment. And then I believe they cut to the next day. There's that little mini alien we saw now has blown up, grown up, and now he's attacking Metropolis. And Superman goes in and starts fighting this thing. And, you know, as he's fighting this thing, he's also in the process of trying to save people. I believe at first the thing is trying to like stomp, and then Superman like catches his foot, and there's like a dog down there that's barking at Superman, and Superman's trying to get the dog to leave, but he doesn't. So he uses his super breath to blow the dog out of the place, and then the monster now drops the foot down. The little girl sees him drop down. She looks scared, but then you see the gravel of the ground kind of kick it up, and then he kind of shoots out, and the girl gets excited, and she's happy and cheerful. And so Superman is fighting this alien, beating this big monster up, trying to come up with a plan to kind of stop him when the Justice League shows up. And I believe a reporter comes up and starts letting you know who these people are. And, you know, we know one of them is a Green Lantern, one of them is Mr. Terrific, and one of them is Hawk Girl. And so they show up and they're helping Superman fight this thing. And as they're walking in, Hawk Girl says, you know, yeah, that's kind of a rough draft name. We haven't fully committed to it, but you know, the Green Lantern guy is like, no. Now, mind you, this isn't the Green Lantern. You know, this is not Hal Jordan. This also isn't, you know, the black Green Lantern that we know of. This is just a different Green Lantern. You know, there's multiple different Green Lanterns out there. They have a whole planet full of them. And so this is just one of the many Green Lanterns here. And they're part of the Justice Gang. That's their name. And so it's kind of comical. His character is comical, period. The whole back and forth between him and Hawk Girl about the name Justice Gang is comical, and it's funny. But anyway, so they bust in, and Mr. Terrific is there. Superman has a conversation with Mr. Terrific where he's trying to figure out a way to kind of catch him, capture him, and put him somewhere safe. But Mr. Terrific is like, man, forget all that, bro. Like, we need to kill this thing. And sure enough, Mr. Terrific he's flying in this little flying chair with his little ball gadgets flying all around him. And he drops something inside the monster and blows it up inside him. And then they pretty much kill him. He falls out. But in the process of them fighting the monster, we see Superman saving this little girl. We get a nice little slow motion shot, which was in the trailer, where a group of things are like about to hit him, and he covers her so it doesn't hit her. He saves the girl. Superman saves everybody. Superman even saves a squirrel off the floor. I kind of feel like James Gunn was paying attention to all the comments of people complaining about Man of Steel, about all the people, all the buildings being blown up and people being in them. And so in this movie, he basically kind of makes fun of like, man, like if Superman can't save everybody. So he has him save all these people, then he has him save the squirrel. It's kind of like he's just kind of playing right there in your face. And so smart comedy in a way. And so, but basically he is upset. He saves a squirrel in this whole thing, but they take the monster down. And as you know, this whole monster is a distraction sent out here by Lex Luthor to distract Superman while they decrypt his parents' code. And sure enough, right after they defeat this alien, him and the Justice Gang look over, and right there on the headlines, you see his parents. You see a caption that says Superman is a fraud or something like that. Something about Superman betrays us or something. I can't remember exactly the caption, but Superman they see this, and Superman is watching on a phone as he plays out his parents' translation of his parents' text. And in the text, he hears the usual thing he always hears: go to Earth, protect them, help them, save them. And he goes, what's wrong with that? And then the next part, he says, earn their trust and take over. And you will take over and lead them. And, basically it sounds like his parents are telling him to enslave him. And so the moment I see this, I'm thinking, dang, man, Lex done like tampered with this whole audio and made it, appear that Superman's parents sent him here to lie to people and betray them. And so he goes into a room where he has a talk with the Justice Gang, and he explains to them that he only had access to the front part of the text, and he said he believes Lex has probably like manipulated it. But Mr. Terrific says, man, I'm sorry, bro, but he was like, if the experts check this, more likely this is actually the text. This has not been tampered with. And so I believe, so then Superman, as he's talking to them, they go, well, how could he have even gotten it? I think Hawkgirl says that, and that's when Superman shoots off. And I believe the next scene they kind of show is Lex. The next thing they show is the head guy of Arabia. He is walking with some reporters, talking to the reporters about Superman, how he believes that he was trying to, get a bunch of Arabian women or something like that, just making up all types of BS propaganda about Superman to add on to the text. And then when he goes off into his room, his office, and then he opens up a door, and it's one of Lex Luthor's portals. And he walks through the portal, and he talks to Lex. And I believe this is known as a pocket universe that Lex has opened up his portals to. And you see this throughout the whole Superman movie. You see it when what we know as Ultraman walks through it when he comes out of his suit with Lex. But anyway, so he's talking with Lex, and Lex, when he talks to him, he goes, wow, so you faked the parents' text? And he goes, no, it's not a fake. He said, when we came there to get information, we didn't know his parents were going to give it to us. And so that shows that the text was actually legit, that his parents literally actually did want him to come down there and protect the people or they trust and enslave them, take over. And so, wow, it just shows a lot about Superman's people. But anyway, and so I believe the next thing we cut to is Superman. I believe it's the Fortress of Solitude. He's back at the fortress, and he sees all his robots are torn up, and he's talking to the robot. He's asking him, how did Lex get in here? He was like, this place is set to my DNA, so he's trying to figure out how he got in there. But you know, the robot can't tell him much. The robot dies, and you know, and his dog is now missing. So next thing you know, he busts in to Lex's office. Lex is sitting down at his desk. He goes, "Where's my dog, Lex?" He's pissed off. Lex is very calm. He goes, "I don't know what you're talking about. What dog?" And so he's sitting there, he's drinking his coffee, and as this scene is going on, he has his dumb bimbo girlfriend video recording the whole scene, and he's sitting there drinking his coffee. Mind you, this actor that played Lex, he's been playing in everything. He does a great job playing Lex, by the way. And so we kind of get like a comical scene where Lex is sitting there and Superman takes his desk and throws his desk into the glass and breaks it, not fully, but cracks it enough. And so he goes, "Where's my dog? He's just a dog, Lex." And then he goes, "I don't know what you're talking about." And then he says, "Furry, stupid dog," or something. He kind of mumbles it and drinks. And so he goes, "What?" He's like, "I didn't say anything." You know what I'm saying? He's taunting him. He's messing with him. You know what I'm saying? And it cuts to this being played on the news of Superman being shown as hostile. And, you know, it's just not a bad look for Superman. You know, his parents already done passed out this message in the public, and now the public is turned on him. And this was all Lex's ploy to get the government to fund him taking down Superman and any other, just Superman for starts. But I'm pretty sure his plan was to stop all metahumans that aren't working with him to stop other metahumans. So, but anyway, so Superman, he leaves. He says he's just a dog. And then I think that night he kind of flies in through the window of the apartment. And behind him, you see what looks like a jellyfish, you know what I'm saying, in the sky. And it's just such a beautiful scene, beautiful cinematography. And Lois is there and they talk. He apologized to her because, you know, the last time they seen each other, they had that fight and he blew up. And then he goes, "What do you mean by, you know, you thought this wasn't going to work. You knew this wasn't going to work." And, you know, she just says, "You know, we just very different." You know what I'm saying? But, you know, opposites attract. You know what I'm saying? They are very different. You know what I'm saying? You know, he kind of thinks with his heart. And, you know, she kind of thinks more on a logical tip. You know what I'm saying? In the sense that, you know, why he didn't go get permission, why he didn't go talk with the government, why he didn't go work with this and do that. Superman just sees bad things happening and just chooses to do the right thing and help people and save people. You know what I'm saying? And I agree with Superman on that, in that sentiment, that Superman, you know, sometimes there's things that go on in the world that cops and the army just can't do, and you need somebody who doesn't need permission, that's just gonna always step in there and do the right thing and do the best to save lives and save people. And that's what Superman is there for. And so anyway, they share a moment where they talk and then they hug. And as they hug, behind them, you can see the Justice Gang fighting. I believe Lois asked him, you know, why doesn't he just go, why, you know, doesn't he have to go fight the alien? And he goes, "Nah, that's just a whatever alien, they can handle it." And so he tells her that he's gonna go have to turn himself in. And then he goes, and then she goes, "What?" She doesn't want him to turn himself in, you know? And then he goes, I have to. He's like, they have my dog. And he goes, he's just a dog. And he goes, I know he's just a dog. He's not even a good one, but he's alone and he's scared. And he's probably scared. And so they hug each other. They share a very passionate hug. This is a beautiful moment. Superman is the type of movie you can bring your girl to go see, and y'all can hold hands or kiss in this moment because, this moment kind of can bring y'all together on an emotional love level. So I thought this was a beautiful scene. And so they hug. And as they hug, you get this beautiful cinematography shot of the skyline behind them. And as the skies light up, the alien is lighting up and they're fighting the alien in the background. I just thought it was a really, really great scene that, that James Gunn and his cinematography people set up. I thought it was just beautiful. And so the next morning, Superman turns himself in. He walks in. Ultraman knocks his head into the ground. And he goes, dang, do you have to be this rough? I'm turning myself in. And so anyway, he pulls him up and he's walking him in along with the Nano Girl. They're both walking him in and turning him in. They're taking him in to capture, and Lex is there, and they bring Lex. They have him in handcuffs, and I believe Lex takes him and puts him in this little opens up a portal into the pocket dimension, puts him in this little glass cube with this other weird looking alien that we've never seen before in any other Superman. And I think he says metamorphosis or something, metamorph, he calls him. Basically, he says this alien has the power to morph into any known element or whatever. Or maybe not any known element, but most of them. And so I believe that he creates kryptonite in that scene right there, which immediately starts weakening Superman. And so and I also believe that in that scene the cube is traveling. He reminds the alien, that he has his son, and now we know why he's even doing this. And the cube is moving, and as it's moving through the whole little thing, Superman can see his dog now running on a little treadmill, chasing flying raccoons, and he's just being tortured, basically, just being tortured, being pulled all in the face and all that. And so, Lex now has Superman in his cage, and then I believe they cut to Lois. Lois, she's at the Daily Planet, trying to figure out how, she's kind of freaking out. Superman has turned himself in. She's trying to figure out a way she can get him out and save him. You know what I'm saying? Oh, and this is important. I forgot this part. Just to cut back, just to rewind just a little bit to when they were in the apartment and we had that beautiful shot at night with the alien. Superman tells Lois that he loves her. And he said he probably should have told her a while ago. And so that was big. That was deep. You know what I'm saying? That he told her he loved her. He's not afraid to show his emotion and show that he loves his girl. And so I thought that was really, really dope. But anyway, so, just giving a little context into why, Lois is she's so in love and just trying to help Superman. So she cares about him, obviously. And, he just told her he loved her. And so, I don't remember. She doesn't say it back, but she's hugging him, and everything's good. So, but anyway, so cut back to where we are. Lois is at the Daily Planet. She's there with Jimmy Olsen. Now, Jimmy Olsen has a bunch of mixed text in his phone from this Lex's bimbo, just bird brain girl friend that he keeps around that you see taking selfies. She's kind of part of a comic relief of the story. And so anyway, so he has his own little side relationship with her because, let's just be real. She probably just with Lex because Lex got money and he's successful, but she really likes Jimmy. And so, she blowing his phone up, and that's kind of his direct in to Superman. And so he gets information out of this bimbo, ditzy bird brain girl, that Superman is being held in a pocket dimension. And so he gives that information to Lois. Lois is so happy she starts hitting Jimmy, which is weird. She's just like hitting him and stuff, hitting him all over. And so, I believe she even asked Lois, like, how does he do it? Like, how does he get all these girls? But, Jimmy doesn't really give an answer. Jimmy's completely unfazed by having all these girls, by the way. He's just the coolest with this whole thing. He's just a player from the Himalayas, you know what I'm saying? As they used to say back in the day in the South, player from the Himalayas. But anyway, so I'm not even sure if that was a Southern thing. I just know that I'm from the South and I used to hear that when I was younger. But anyway, so Lois takes this information. She's happy. She runs off to go to the Justice Gang to tell them because she can't save Superman. She ain't got no powers. So she runs off to the Justice Gang. And, obviously the leader of this crew is the Green Lantern guy that we spoke about. And so she goes and she talks with him, and they have their whole back and forth where she's trying to convince him to go save Superman. He feels betrayed. She goes, I thought he was your friend. And so, I didn't really get that notion watching this that they were friends, but hey, he co-signs it. He says, yeah, and how you think I feel, my friend, that he betrayed me this whole time. He's been lying to me. And so she's trying to convince him that he's not evil and that they need to go save him. But they kind of have this funny back and forth because he starts to like say things like, yo, that his glasses, and this is where you get the reveal of the glasses being used to trick people. He goes, his glasses, they tricked. Then she goes, yeah, I do know that, but you shouldn't be telling me that in case I don't know that. And so he's just kind of like this is very comical scene back and forth where he says that. And then he says, well, you do know that he is Clark Kent, right? He's just telling her all this stuff he's not supposed to be telling her. And she goes off and she goes, oh my God, why is he so trusting? And, I remember watching this stuff thinking like, you've been dating this girl for 3 months and you gonna tell her your secret identity. He's just way too trusting to everybody. But he says the reason why he told us is because we're of the cloth. Meaning, they're all superheroes. They cut from the same cloth. Got super strength, superpowers. And so, also, a small detail that I forgot to mention is Peacemaker is in this movie. When they first expose Superman, there is a scene where they cut the Peacemaker, and it just goes to show you that James Gunn has been building this whole world of all his characters. You got Rick, who is from Creature Commandos, who part of the Secretary of Defense. You got Peacemaker, which is James Gunn's show that he started and created of a character that was a spinoff from the remake of the Suicide Squad that he made, that they called him back in the remake. And we know James Gunn is great with doing groups. You know what I'm saying? He wrote the Scooby-Doo movies. You know, he created the Guardians of the Galaxy. Not created, but he basically took the original comic book text and adapted it into the Guardians of the Galaxy. It gave us these characters we've never heard or never seen before, and made them superstars in the superhero world. You know what I'm saying? And wrote and directed all those movies. So it's pretty cool to see now he doing a movie where it's not a team of people and he's knocking it out the park. You know, this is like at least the first thing I know of him ever writing and directing that isn't a group of people, and he's knocking it out the park. So anyway, back to current state. So he can't convince her. She, leaves, and Mr. Terrific shows up, and clearly he decides that he wants to help. So, excuse me, y'all. So, he decides he wants to help. As he should already know, they're in a pocket dimension, because she told him when she showed up. And so basically Mr. Terrific uses his computer to track the last known whereabouts of Superman, which I believe he takes a DNA sample of every person when he first meets them, and he got Superman's DNA from him when he first met him, and he used it to track them. Mr. Terrific is a super smart guy from the comic book. Never been seen before in live action before, so this is pretty cool to be introduced to him and Hawkgirl. I don't think we've seen Hawkman before. He was in the Rock's movie where he played Black Adam, and so now we're getting to see Hawkgirl in this one. And so, but anyway, he decides he's gonna help Lois, and I think Lois was trying to offer up to take her ride or some other ride, and he goes, nah, he has his own ride. And then you have like this scene where the garage is opening up real slow. This is a comical scene in the movie. I remember people kind of laughing at this part. It's a little funny moment, a little small joke moment. And he goes, dang, you have a very slow garage door. And so they, I believe they get inside his car, which is like this round car. And they get in there, and, he pulls up his last known whereabouts of Superman, which is at an army base. And so they take off to go save him. I believe, they cut back to Superman deteriorating through kryptonite in the cage. Lex brings out the Indian, I don't know his nationality, but the guy that helped Superman earlier get out of the ground and risked his life. I remember one of the people pulled up his information. So he pulls him out and he threatens him. He tells him to give him information on Superman. And he does kind of like it's not Russian roulette, because Russian roulette usually is two people and you're putting a bullet in the gun, you spin the table, put it in, and then you pull the trigger, and then you both do it. And the loser basically blows his brains out. That's that's a way to play Russian roulette. But in this case, he's just putting a bullet in the trigger, spinning it, and then he shoots. Where he doesn't tell him anything. He asks him again, puts a bullet in. Now, mind you, this guy doesn't know anything. He's just a random guy that helped Superman out of the ground. He doesn't know anything anyway. He can't tell Lex anything, but he would never tell him anything. But Lex is really mostly trying to get Superman to talk. And so he's threatening this guy, and the guy is telling Superman, don't say nothing. Like, that's how how much he believes in Superman, how much he, even after the whole text comes out with the parents, he's still riding with Superman to the point where he tells him don't say a thing. And as he's saying that, Lex blows his brains out on the second time he pulls the trigger. And then Lex goes, oh, I, he's like, I thought this interrogation was going a little longer than this. And so we kind of get a comical moment. I kind of have a dark sense of humor. So I remember laughing at that the first time I saw that in the movies. I thought that was hilarious. And so, anyway, so Lex blows his brains out and then he leaves. And then I think I remember the alien kind of reacting sadly to that. I also believe that Superman tried very hard to convince this alien guy to let him go. He even tells him that he'll try to save his son, and he tells him to shut up. And when he tells him to shut up, he's putting the kryptonite closer to him, which is hurting him even more. But I believe when he sees him kill that guy, it really freaks him out. And now he kind of want to help Superman. He goes, so you telling me you can help save my son? And so, and he says, yeah. So, anyway, so I think we cut back to Lois and Mr. Terrific showing up at this army base. They go in, and Mr. Terrific puts up this big shield around them as they're being surrounded by all of these guys in suits and criminals. They tell them they should leave. They tell them they should go. Mr. Terrific, like, we have this really dope action scene where Mr. Terrific pretty much rolls out of the shield and he's using all this technology. He's knocking guys out while his technology is pretty much taking out everybody in the base. Like, he's got balls flying all over the place, knocking people all over the place, and he's knocking guys out, boom, left and right. A lot of people said that Mr. Terrific stole the show in this movie, that this was his movie. But because he comes in just knocking dudes out, I mean, the action scene is super, super dope. For this to be our first time seeing this character is really, really dope that he gets this scene. And for a lot of people, this is also basically his way of getting, getting some love back, getting some shine back that he lost when he played in X-Men. This actor played in X-Men First Class. He played a character very similar to the Metamorphosis guy that's in the cage with Superman, where he can kind of shapeshift into anything, any element. And they kind of killed him. It just really didn't make sense that his body being adaptable, and for the villain to come up and just hit him and just kill him. And it just kind of feels like in a lot of movies, horror movies and other movies, they kill off the one only black character we have in the whole movie. And so it kind of sucked. And so I'm not sure if James Gunn did this on purpose, but if he did, James Gunn, you're awesome by giving this actor a chance to revitalize himself or just basically making up for that bad moment of him dying in the X-Men movie. So we appreciate that, man. We really, really do. For all the people out there, especially, African Americans, black folks, even if you aren't just black folks, period, you know what I'm saying? We all were happy to see him have his moment and have him his shine. Because we felt like his character got killed in the dumbest way possible. It didn't even make sense. And so now we get to see Mr. Terrific go stupid and kill all these guys in this base or knock them out using all this technology, and it's dope. While Lois is sitting back there in the shield, and he does it effortlessly, by the way. And so Anyway, so also, yeah, so they continue going in. Uh, Once all the people are knocked out, he lets Lois out the shield, and then he explains to her how unstable. Once he sees that there is a portal and there is a pocket dimension, he's shocked because he's like, wow, I can't believe Lex created a pocket dimension. Like he was like this thing. He was like, any little thing can go wrong on this thing, and it could tear a hole into the universe. And so he lets her know how unstable this thing is, and how unsafe it is to keep one of these things open and to even create one in the first place. And so in that, he has his tech hack into it so he can get into it to get to the last known place where they dropped off Superman. And so while his tech is hacking into it, the alien finally is now ready to work with Superman. Superman's kind of weak. So Superman says he needs his powers. He gets his power from the sun. The alien says he can't create the sun, but he can create something similar. So he starts naming the elements, and then he creates this big ball. Now this has to be one of the most amazing things. I mean, one of the most powerful things we've ever seen a super being do in the movie, to create an element that's similar to the sun. I mean, that is amazing. And so this goes to show you this guy has to be one of the most powerful metahumans in the whole DC universe. So, but anyway, and it's just cool that James Gunn has given us this whole world, these different metahumans and creatures and everything. So he creates this ball, and it gets so big, and the people around him starts complaining like, oh, you're gonna get us caught. And the two people try to call Lex, but they can't hear him. I believe all of Lex's exes, he keep them in those glass cubes. So I do believe at one point Jimmy Olsen had asked, why don't she just leave Lex? And she said, man, so I can end up in a queue with all his other exes. And so, but anyway, so creates this ball for Superman. And so Superman busts out of the glass and goes to save the alien's son. The alien shows up, and he goes, thank you so much. He was like, I need you to hold him because I can't hold him while I'm morphing. And so I believe that Miss Terrific hacks into the portal that leads into the pocket dimension. And then he kind of walks over to the edge, but he says they can't go all the way in for some scientific reason. I can't specifically remember, but he's able to look inside and kind of see everything that's going on in there. Superman saves the kid, carries the kid, and goes and busts out the dog. He saves Krypto, but Krypto, of course, is unhinged, so he's flying all over the place. In the process of that, Lex Luthor has a bunch of like goons, like a bunch of villains in suits, bunch of suits everywhere, and they see what's going on because they're there to make sure everything's copacetic. When they see what's going on, they try to stop Superman, and in that, a whole water, like a freaking river of like, just like, I don't even know what to describe these things are, but a little river of these little invisible things. He's like washed up in it while he's holding both the alien and the dog is flying. Oh, dark matter. He gets wrapped up in all this dark matter, a pool or river of dark matter that's dragging him down. And he's dragging him into this wormhole, and things are falling in this wormhole. Now, we're going to remember this scene, remember this wormhole, because this possibly could be something important later on in the movie. I mean, it is pretty important later on in the movie. I have a theory that this could possibly be something in relation to something later on in the movie. So anyway, Superman's carrying the alien baby. He's carrying the dog where the dog is flying. He's trying to get the dog to pull them out of there. And right as he's about to get sucked into the hole, I believe the alien shows up, grabs them, pulls them out. He actually sees tech from Mr. Terrific there, and they follow that tech out into the portal that they came through. And as this is going on, Miss Terrific and Lois are both sitting there. You can kind of see this black thing filling up around them that's about to close off this portal to this whole pocket dimension. And so Superman, the alien baby, Krypto, and the alien all fly through the hole. I believe Miss Terrific and Lois, all of them, they jump through first, and then all of them fly through the hole right before the portal is about to shut, and it shuts closed. So once they get there, Superman is still weak. You can still see veins of green in him from the kryptonite. It's still affecting him. Lois is like, "Are you all right?" And then, the alien says the kryptonite is still got him. Mr. Terrific says he'll be okay. He just needs like a day or two of regenerating. She tells him to take his ship. And so Superman and Lois, they hop in Mr. Terrific's ship, and they fly to Kansas. I'm assuming that Kansas, I could put you in the log cabin somewhere in Wisconsin. If you know the T-Pain song, I don't even know that. I'm not even sure what he said, but it just made me think about that. Wisconsin, the way he said it. But anyway, so in Kansas, which I think we know that as being Smallville, Superman's hometown, where he grew up. And so, if you know the comic book text, if not, you just heard it from me. You could always do your Googles. So anyway, he flies him to Kansas, and I believe this is Lois's first time meeting his parents. They've only been dating 3 months. Yeah, I believe this is the first time meeting his parents. We have a strong heart-to-heart moment. His dad gets real emotional, and I believe the mom says he's just a big teddy bear. He's just a big softy. You know what I'm saying? And he gets real soft when you're talking about Lois. And when I saw this scene, it really reminded me a lot of my parents. It really did, because my dad is big softy, he real emotional. Never been afraid to show his emotions. He's real tough though. He's a real manly man. I mean, that's showing your emotions too. All of his emotions, anger, all that. My dad has always just been a real emotional guy. He's always been the one that hugged us and kissed us on the cheek and told us he loved us. And my mom, she's a really good person, but she's not the type that shows emotions like that. She's not. My dad is. And so that's kind of how my family's always been. So when I saw that, I thought that was it's kind of like a mirror of my family. And so I kind of had a little connection there on a personal tip. But anyway, and me, I'm a lot like my dad. So, and I believe Superman is a lot like his dad. And Lois was probably a lot more like his mom. So I kind of could connect with this scene a little bit more. I ain't got no Lois, but hey, I could at least connect on the fatherly son connection as far as that goes. And so, it was just a really, really great scene to see them all come together, kind of like a little family, and kind of connect while Superman kind of heals. And you get to see his parents there. It was just really, really cool to see the bond that he shares with his family. And I think during this scene they kind of cut. Excuse me again. They kind of cut to Lois. I mean, not Lois. They cut to Lex Luthor. They cut to Lex Luthor, pissed off that Superman broke out. He's super pissed. He's breaking the pencil things thrown on the floor, telling the assistants to pick it up. And he throws another on the floor. They're picking it up real fast. And he's pissed off that they broke out and they got out. And so now he decides to create a distraction, or not a distraction, but create something to draw Superman out, because he is ready to get Superman. And so, like Mr. Terrific said, creating a pocket dimension with this little portal can be dangerous. So he basically uses that portal to create a split in the world where it just starts splitting to the earth. And his people are like, yo, what are you doing? Like, this could tear the whole world apart. Like, he was like, I just need to draw him out. And so he does it, and you see the portal splitting the whole thing apart. The doctor's telling him the risk. He's like, you said that to me? Like, I don't know that. Lex Luthor is probably one of the smartest men on Earth. You know what I'm saying? And so he creates this thing that's tearing the Earth apart. Lex, they kind of cut back to Superman at his parents' house with Lois. And when they cut back to there, I believe he's sitting outside with his parents, talking with them. I think he gets a call from Mr. Terrific, and Mr. Terrific is like, yo, hurry up, I need you here. But Superman is about to go try to save the people of, I believe it's Baravia or whatever. The same people that he went and fought the whole thing at the beginning of the movie, the whole kind of premise that the movie is kind of tied around. And so, but he says, if you don't get here soon, he said, there won't be no Baravia. He said, there won't be no nothing. He was like, and so, Mr. Terrific is flying. He's seeing the ground splitting, and Superman shows up to help him. And when he shows up, Ultraman and the girl with the nano powers knock Superman and Mr. Terrific on the ground in the field, and we get to see a super dope action fight scene between Superman and Ultraman, and Superman and the nano girl. And so they fight, they get at it, they're going hard, they're fighting. It's a really dope action scene. James Gunn does a great job with the action in this movie. He does, in this field. And so it's pretty cool to see them fighting. It's a cool scene, really dope action. I believe it's not that long of an action scene. They fight for a little short minute, and then I believe Lex, of course, is watching, and he's controlling Ultraman like he always does. And Ultraman's not in the same suit. He's now in a ninja suit, and we know he works for Lex now. At least we know. I'm not sure if the public knows that I don't think the public even knows who he is, or he was the same guy in that suit at the beginning of the movie. I don't think they know that at all. But anyway, so they're having their scene where they're fighting. And then Lex tells the nano chick, he tells her to go ahead and drop the nanos in him to basically try to kill Superman, and she does it. She drops the nanos in him, and it's like going in his head, and it's like going down in his throat, and then you could see all of Lex's people and the doctor in there. They go, well, dang, can't he breathe for like an hour and a half? They were like, yeah, he can, but that's when he has air in his lungs. The nanos is filling up his throat now, and so he's not gonna be able to breathe. And so the nanos are coming down his throat, and they're like taking over his body. And so you can see his eye, you can see the nanos fill up his eye. And so Superman thinks quick on his feet because he immediately shoots off in the air. And when he shoots off, you know, I believe either Lex tells him or they just go and follow him, Ultraman and the girl. And as he's flying up in the air, they're flying up after him, and they're like, catch him. And they're like, we're trying. So that just goes to show you how fast Superman is. That Ultraman and this nano can't even keep up with him with the nanotechs all over his head going down his throat. He's still flying faster than them. And so they eventually do catch up to him, and then they start punching on him. They're punching on him as he's flying up in the air. He flies out of Earth all the way up in the sky, and then he comes flying straight down, straight into the ground. And then he crashes straight into the ground, and when he crashes into the ground, he comes out of the ground, and he's like puking out the nanotech out of his mouth, like pulling it out, just dragging it out like a long rope, and he can breathe again. And when they crash into the ground, it tears up the suit of Ultraman. And then when Ultraman comes up, you see that it is David Corenswet. It is the same person. And he looks a little unhinged in the face. You can see that his eyes, he's not all the way there. Mentally, you can see his hair. And that's where Lex has a conversation with Superman. He goes, that's right, I cloned you. He was like, I used a piece of your hair from your DNA from a site where you were fighting, and I created another you. And this character, for all comic book people, for all people that aren't comic book savvy, know that this is Bizarro, which Lex Luthor, created using Superman's DNA. And so Bizarro, and so he's having this back and forth with Superman, and then he starts telling them C A C B like Battleship, and then he starts punching Superman in the head, punching him, beating the mess out of him again. And so Superman, I believe Lex says, brains over bronze. Brains will always beat bronze. And so, Superman smiling with blood in his mouth, and Lex is like, yo, what are you smiling for? And then he says, brains over bronze. And then he whistles. And then here comes Krypto, shows up, and then he says, Krypto, get the toy. And so basically, Krypto starts destroying all the cameras that allow Lex Luthor to be able to see the whole fight. So if he can't see the fight, he can't exactly narrate, he can't exactly control Bizarro and tell him what to do to beat Superman. So now Bizarro has to fight him on his own, and Superman is starting out to beat the mess out of him. While the dog is tearing up all the technology around him, Superman's beating the mess out of Bizarro. And they have this long, big fight scene. He's beating them up. And then they're kind of sitting there at one point, and then like this big piece of dark matter or whatever is flying towards them. And he grabs Bizarro and pulls him out, and the ton of bricks crashes in him and hits him. And I believe he falls. I believe that knocks him into an open portal that's been opened. And uh, so now, in the background of all this happening, I believe that Jimmy Olsen plays a part in the movie to where he gets all the dirt that he needs from the bird brain chick that he has been kind of messing with on the side. The same chick he got the information of where Superman is. I mean, you kind of see, Lex yell at her, which kind of gives her more credence, and she's heartbroken, gives her more credence to call him up and give Jimmy Olsen all the information he needs to take Lex down with, that he could print in his newspaper. And she tells him, if I see you this, we got to spend the whole weekend together. And you could just tell he's just lying to her just to get information out of her this whole time. You know, he kind of meets with her secretly and all of this and all this. There's a whole part that I'm forgetting to bring up that happened leading up to this. And he gets the information. She sends the information last minute before she gets caught, because Ultraman catches her in the bathroom on the phone with Jimmy Olsen. And when he gets it, he just sees a bunch of selfie pictures of her. But once he sends it to Lois, what she sent him, Lois says, your hot girlfriend is a genius. He goes, what? And so, because she looks at the pictures. And so all this is going on kind of in the background of all of this. So, but after Superman beats Bizarro, him and the dog, they go and try to stop Lex, because Lex is now getting his people and trying to leave now. But Mr. Terrific shows up, Superman shows up, and he tells him it's over. You know what I'm saying? It's over, Lex. And they have a back and forth about him being an alien, and Superman tells him, I am human. He's like, I live, I breathe human, I love, I care, I do this, I'm human. He was like, that's the part that you got messed up. And so Lex yells back at him. And I believe what ended up happening is all those selfies, in the background of all those selfies was all the information needed to show that all the evil plans that Superman had made, the plans that he had partnered with the senator, the head guy of the people who were trying to oppress the people and all that, that whole plan was all in the background of the selfies that she sent to Jimmy Olsen. And so Lois puts that out on the news for everybody to see, so they know that deep down that Lex is a criminal, and the whole war thing, everything that was going on there, all that was just a ploy. Lex makes more money if this war happens. He's behind the whole thing. He funded the whole thing. And so once they see his plot, immediately people understand that he is the villain and not Superman. And so when Lex has that moment where he's yelling at Superman, in the middle of him yelling, Krypto shows up and beats and knocks the mess out of him, knocks him upside down. I was so happy to see that scene after they'd already done tortured this dog, hit this dog with the nano stuff. It was just dope to see that that they got. Also, I believe at one point, Hawk Girl grabs the head dude that was working with Lex, grabs him and pulls out, flies him out, and he goes, you're with Superman, you're not gonna hurt me. And then he goes, yeah, I'm not with Superman. And then he drops him down in the thing. I love that scene too. That was a dope scene at the end, towards the end of the movie. And so it was just really, really dope action that we got to see. And so they finally take down Lex. After Lex gets knocked over, you see him being locked up. You see him being put in jail with the with the army forces. They put him in the back. He's looking pretty sad, looking pretty pitiful. And then Superman goes and he sees Lois. And then he goes, "Oh yeah, I wanted to see you. If you wanted to give me an interview." And then she goes, "Yeah, let's go over here. Yeah, I can interview you over here." So she takes him in this little building, and then they kiss. They share a passionate kiss, and she tells him, "I love you too." And so she says it back. And so, we get the happy ending that we so rightfully deserve in this superhero movie. And I believe the next scene that they cut to is Superman at the Fortress of Solitude. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that's really what his lair's called, but we go call it that. That's what it's called now. So anyway, so he goes back to the fortress. He's there, and we hear this noise. And then she goes, "Dang, why'd you move the door?" And he goes, "I didn't move the door. It's still over there." And it's Supergirl. Supergirl pops up, and she goes, "Where's my dog?" And then here comes Krypto coming in, knocking her on the ground, and she's laughing. And now we understand why so unhinged Krypto is. Why so unhinged the dog is. Krypto is so unhinged. We now understand because it's Supergirl's dog, and she's unstable, just a drunk teenager partying. You know what I'm saying? I believe Superman, as he's laying down, he's telling the robots that he's rebuilt, and he's asking the robots how are they liking their whole little build, and they said they're liking it. They said he said he was like, "It'd be nice to get a name." And he goes, "What, robots? Superman robots is pretty cool, or number 4 or something is a name." He said, "Yeah, but also Gary." And so, but he tells the robot that Supergirl parties on red planets and gets drunk because of their metabolism, they can't get drunk on any planets with the yellow sun. And so she was drunk, and it's comical. She's showing up loud, belligerent with her Krypto, her dog. And so he was house sitting the dog. And this time when he lays down, the robot says, "I'm playing the text from your parents." And this time it's all the different little video shots of him and the parents that actually raised him, which are the Kents, Jonathan and Martha Kent, and him running as a kid and playing with him, and he's just smiling, feeling warm and at peace. And that's the end of the movie. And so, all in all, I thought this movie was really, really good. I really, really enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the plot. I kind of wish we would have got more of maybe Clark Kent, maybe a little bit more Clark Kent than what we got. We barely got any of him, but honestly, because he wasn't too much more of a difference to me, I guess we really didn't need that much of him, because, I mean, if he's just going to be basically just like Superman, it really is no point. And so, plus this movie is called Superman for a reason. The center focus is Superman and his story and all the things that he has going on. So that's what James Gunn wanted to laser focus on. And I'm cool with that. But for the most part, I think this is a good movie. I love the fact that we kind of just got straight to it. We didn't need any backstory. We've seen so many different iterations of Superman, from television shows, the movies. A Superman cartoon had just came out right before this movie came out. And of course, it didn't really give us the same old origin story, which is good. But I was glad that they finally got right to it. And I kind of feel like some of James Gunn's inspiration definitely came from that animated series. But James Gunn did an excellent job, man. All the actors did a great job. David Corenswet, everybody did a great job playing their characters. Nicholas Hoult did a great job playing Lex Luthor. All the acting was good. All the action. I love how when Superman is flying, you can see his hair moving. He's got his curl, which is something I feel like I'm not sure if they really showed before, that his hair moved when he flew, and that just makes sense. Like, I don't know what James Gunn did to create the effect to make his hair move when he flew, but I think he did a great job. And when he flies, they give you a nice POV shot of right in front of his face. You can see his hair moving as he flies. James Gunn did a great job with a lot of the shots, and he did a great job with a lot of the action, a lot of the slow motion action. There was an action scene where Superman like flies straight up in the air, and he just like spins around and laser beams and kills like all these villains, all of these villains that work for Lex, all these different villains. It was just a lot of great action scene. There was also a scene where he's like punching these guys and their tooths are flying out their mouth, and you can see the tooths fall out in slow motion as their faces. The action scenes were super, super dope. Great action, pretty dope story. I feel like James Gunn did a good job, man, all in all. We got to see Supergirl at the end of the movie. Just trying to make sure I don't miss anything that I wanted to talk about as far as the movie goes. I think I've covered everything that I wanted to say. I do kind of feel like we kind of get an understanding, or kind of like a clear duality of what goes on in the real world and what goes on in the real world. James Gunn brought a lot of things from things that we actually deal with today, and he brought them to life in this movie. The whole people being oppressed is definitely, relative and directly connected to everything that's going on with Palestine. And if you know that situation, if you don't, look it up. It's pretty terrible what's going on with them. And I do believe that's where James Gunn kind of got that whole story from. I also believe that the whole, when you're a celebrity, they love you and they hate you and they love you again. They love you again. I believe I got that from Jay-Z. But basically, you're loved as a celebrity, but anytime you slip up and make a mistake, people just immediately turn on you and hate you. And we see that full-fledged with Superman. We see that happen with him. As people turn on him, he takes this full walk of shame in the movie where he has this look and people are throwing stuff at him. They hit him in the head, and when they think he's there to take over and betray them, and really deep down that his family told him to take over. So we get that duality of whether you're a celebrity or maybe just an internet celebrity. You know what I'm saying? You're big on social media. You're a big streamer. Anytime any little thing goes wrong, people immediately turn on you once they see it in the news. We see that happen to Superman, and we see that happen in every day-to-day life. The hashtag dipshit, which we did, I forgot to mention that part, but Lex is actually the one who was creating all the negative stuff on the internet about Superman and created the hashtag dipshit. That's another thing that we see in social media where people do that. And so James Gunn made this Superman very modern day, but also kept it very old school. And so he did a great job, man. I really enjoyed this movie. I'm going to go ahead and give this a popcorn bucket rating of 4 popcorn buckets, 4 out of 5. Yeah, really good movie. Really good movie. So, but anyway, that's it. I appreciate you guys listening to The Real Review. I'm out.